Welcome to Certification Quiz Hub. This quiz is designed to help you test your knowledge of the AZ-305 certification, perfect for anyone aiming to become an Azure Solutions architect or just curious to see how much they know about designing cloud solutions. In this quiz, you'll tackle 10 challenging questions covering key concepts from the AZ-305. Don't worry, at the end, we'll go over the answers and explanations so you can learn as you go. Backhand index pointing right. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on more quizzes and content about IT certifications. Let's level up in tech together. Your company wants to be cost conscious in its move to the cloud and exercise cost and budget controls at the department level. The company plans to use the Azure Resource Usage and Rate Card APIs to collect billing data for analysis. Initially, you set up your company's Azure with one subscription. You need to design a solution for cost reporting by department. The solution should follow best practices for organizing resources and should minimize the effort required to maintain the solution. Solution: you create a separate subscription for each department and use resource groups to organize resources by project. Does this solution meet the goal? Yes? Or no? This solution does not meet the goal. You should not create a separate subscription for each department and use resource groups to organize resources by project. Creating separate subscriptions for each department adds administrative overhead. Organizing by project is an acceptable way of organizing resources, but it does nothing toward retrieving and reporting cost accounting and budget information. Your company wants to be cost conscious in its move to the cloud and exercise cost and budget controls at the department level. The company plans to use the Azure Resource Usage and Rate Card APIs to collect billing data for analysis. Initially, you set up your company's Azure with one subscription. You need to design a solution for cost reporting by department. The solution should follow best practices for organizing resources and should minimize the effort required to maintain the solution. Solution: you create a separate resource group for each department to host that department's resources and limit access to the resource group through Azure Role-Based Access Control, Azure RBAC. Does this solution meet the goal? Yes? Or no? The solution does not meet the goal. You should not create a separate resource group for each department to host that department's resources and limit access to the resource group through Azure RBAC. Organizing by department is an acceptable way of organizing resources, but it does nothing toward retrieving and reporting cost accounting and budget information. Azure RBAC is used to control and manage access to resources, but it does not retrieve the information you need. You are developing a solution in which alerts and activity logs that are collected from Azure resources are automatically analyzed by a third-party security information and event management (SIEM) system. The analysis must occur in real time. You need to provide a solution that integrates with the third party. Which Azure service should you use? Letter A, Azure Monitor. Letter B, Azure Event Hubs. Letter C, Azure Log Analytics. Or letter D, Azure Storage Account. The correct answer is letter B, Azure Event Hubs. You should use Azure Event Hubs to integrate with a third-party system such as Sumo Logic or Splunk. The events that are coming from activity logs or alerts can be redirected to an event hub. The third-party system can then read data from the event hub. You are working for a global company operating in East US, Central US, North Europe, West Europe, East Asia, and Southeast Asia. The company plans to use the Azure Monitor solution to centralize log storage. In order to store the log data in the Azure Monitor solution, the company has the following requirements. Minimize administrative overhead. Minimize costs. Conform to specific regional compliance requirements. Provide regional data sovereignty. You need to identify the minimum number of log analytics workspaces to fulfill the requirements. How many workspaces should you identify? Letter A, 6. Letter B, 5. Letter C, 1. Or letter D, 3. The correct answer is letter D, 3. You should recommend 3 Log Analytics workspaces. Log Analytics workspaces are used by Azure Monitor to store log data. Log Analytics Workspace is an Azure resource used to aggregate and store the data, provide administrative boundaries, data sovereignty, and define a geographic location for data storage, regional compliance requirements. In this scenario, the company operates within 3 Azure geographies: United States, Europe, and Asia Pacific. Therefore, to meet the requirements in this scenario, you must deploy 3 Log Analytics workspaces, 1 per geography. Your company collects tenant, subscription, and resource data using Azure Monitor. The company also wants to stream this data because it is collected in real time to a third-party monitoring solution for additional analysis. You need to recommend the most effective method to stream monitoring data to a third-party tool. What should you recommend? Letter A, Azure Service Bus? Letter B, Azure Logic Apps? Letter C, Azure Event Hub? Or Letter D, Azure Event Grid? The correct answer is letter C, Azure Event Hub. You should recommend an Azure Event Hub solution. Event hubs are designed to support telemetry and distributed data streaming and are the best fit to a real-time streaming solution. You would need to create an Event Hub's namespace and Event Hub as your monitoring data destination. You can configure an external data consumer. You are designing a monitoring strategy for an Azure SQL database. You want metrics to be collected from the database and provide performance reports on a dashboard. You need to minimize programming effort. Which logging target should you specify in the design? Letter A, Azure Table Storage. Letter B, Azure Event Hubs. Letter C, Azure Blob Storage. Or letter D, Azure Log Analytics. The correct answer is letter D, Azure Log Analytics. You should use Log Analytics in Azure Monitor. You can enable the diagnostic settings on the database and send the metrics to the Azure Log Analytics workspace. To generate the dashboard, you can enable Azure SQL Analytics in Azure Monitor. Azure SQL Analytics can consume the data from the Azure Log Analytics workspace to provide the performance reports on a dashboard without any programming efforts. You are designing a monitoring solution for a microservice solution hosted in an Azure Kubernetes Service, AKS, cluster. You need to recommend a monitoring solution that meets the following requirements. Measure the memory consumption of cluster nodes. Monitor the health of pods and deployments. Create alerts when persistent volumes are more than 80% full. Visualize the metrics and dashboards within the Azure portal. What should you recommend? Letter A, VM Insights? Letter B, Application Insights? Letter C, Container Insights? Or letter D, Grafana? The correct answer is letter C, Container Insights. You should recommend Container Insights. You can use Container Insights to monitor workloads running Kubernetes-based solutions in Azure. You can monitor and create alerts for all components in the cluster, including node memory and processor usage, pod and deployment health, and persistent volume usage. You can access the Container Insights dashboards and metrics within the Azure portal or integrate them with external monitoring tools, such as Prometheus or Grafana. You are migrating your on-premises workloads running on Windows and Linux virtual machines to Azure. During the migration, the applications will run on a hybrid model, with some components running in both Azure and on-premises servers to ensure no downtime for the application during the migration process. You need to design a monitoring strategy solution so that the logs and metrics are available in a centralized location in Azure. The logs should be stored for at least 18 months and must be easy to view and query. Which solution should you configure? Letter A, a storage account? Letter B, Log Analytics? Letter C, Event Hubs? The correct answer is letter B, Log Analytics. You should configure Log Analytics for this scenario. Log Analytics provides you with capabilities to use the Kusto query language to read the logs and metrics. The logs and metrics can be collected using Log Analytics agents, which can be deployed on all the virtual machines running on premises or in Azure. The data collected can be retained for a maximum of 2 years in the workspace. You can create a single workspace for all the logs to centralize the management. Your company wants to be cost conscious in its move to the cloud and exercise cost and budget controls at the department level. The company plans to use the Azure Resource Usage and Rate Card APIs to collect billing data for analysis. Initially, you set up your company's Azure with one subscription. You need to design a solution for cost reporting by department. The solution should follow best practices for organizing resources and should minimize the effort required to maintain the solution. Solution: you create a separate resource group for each type of resource and tag the resources with department and billing code. Does this solution meet the goal? Yes? Or no? This solution meets the goal. You can create a separate resource group for each type of resource and tag the resources with department and billing code. Microsoft's best practices recommend various options for organizing resources into resource groups, such as by resource type, by project, by lifecycle, and so forth. The use of tags lets you organize the data and retrieve data by department for cost accounting and budgeting purposes. You are an administrator of an engineering company, which recently migrated its on-premises web application Web App 1 to Azure. After migration, you receive complaints that Web App 1 is behaving unpredictably, at peak times it is unresponsive and at all other times its resources are not being utilized. You need to recommend a solution to identify the locus of instability issue for Web App 1. Which Azure Insights solution should you recommend as a starting point for the investigation? Letter A, Storage Insights? Letter B, Application Insights? Letter C, VM Insights? Or letter D, Network Insights? The correct answer is letter B. Application Insights. You should recommend Application Insights as an investigation starting point. Azure Application Insights is a performance management and application runtime debugging tool. It can help to detect web application anomalies as well as issues and to continuously improve a web application's performance and usability. Besides possible instability in the application's code, modern web applications involve a plethora of network devices and connected services, which can cause performance and instability issues. The first step of the investigation is to pinpoint the service or network device causing the issue. Application Insights is designed for this purpose. Enjoyed the challenge? Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more quizzes on IT and certifications.